But you're
And I will hit, it's recording now. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Aminata, you wanted to kick us off, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So on behalf of the Toronto OD Network, thank you so much for attending this webinar today. It's the first virtual event. I'm not sure if it's ever, but it's at least been a while. All right. So just wanted to do some quick board introductions and to make a very quick announcement before we go ahead with our webinar. So on the board, we have Kristen, who is the president, and she'll be joining us soon, along with Katrina, who is the membership director, Marilyn, who's the program director, Kelly, who's the marketing director. We have Jamie as the treasurer. She'll be joining us. James, who's our technology director. I'm the communications director. And we have Terry and Melissa, who are board members at large. So on behalf of TODN, we welcome you to this webinar. So one quick announcement, and it's in relation to the Neuro Leadership Institute. So next week, they're having their brain-based coaching program from June 27th to 29th in Toronto. So it's an opportunity for you to begin the next chapter in your developmental journey with the Leadership Institute coaching program. So you have the opportunity to earn some ICF credits and learn the latest research-based tools and skills to effectively coach other professionals in any setting. So if you want to learn more information, just go to the neuroleadership.com.
Their home lives, their parents, their dreams, they come together and they form this bond.
Oh, so I'll give that again. So neuroleadership.com/education to learn more. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and introduce Sarah. So Sarah helps leaders leverage the exponential power of recognition to retain top talent and sustain healthy bottom line. She speaks nationally on the topic, leads workshops, coaches leaders, and conducts organizational recognition program reviews. Sarah is a certified senior organizational development professional, a professional certified coach, certified HR leader, and president-elect of the Toronto chapter of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. She has a BA in psychology, MSc in family relations, and diplomas in human resources and healthcare administration. Sarah has over 17 years of experience, including at senior leadership level, and now owns the boutique firm Greatness Magnified. She's an author of peer-reviewed journals, industry articles, and 3 books. 1, Forever Recognize Others' Greatness, Solution Strategies for Satisfied Staff, High-Performance Teams, and Healthy Bottom Line. 2, The Frog Effect, Tools and Strategies to Forever Recognize Others' Greatness. And the 3rd one is #GreatnessBizHacks, 100 tips plus to grow a profitable service-based business you love, which is coming out in 2018, as well as a comprehensive membership site called the Frog Portal, strategies and tools to retain your best staff and clients. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. To all of you who are choosing to spend your very precious time, your most valuable commodity here in learning. Just a really quick orientation to Zoom, and just hands up if anyone's used Zoom before, if you're familiar with it. So a couple of you, so that's awesome. Just in case some folks aren't aware, the top right-hand corner, you have various options for views. I'm going to be sharing some slides with you, and so that'll limit your options for views. But if you want to switch it up, you want to mix it up, you're welcome to. Many of you have muted yourself, which is great. My virtual assistant colleague, Caroline's on the line to help with, do you want to wave, Caroline? Just in case we have any tech issues, she's going to monitor the chat. She's going to launch some polls.
Hi,
And
everyone.
thank you, Caroline, again for being on the line. So if you have questions as we go, if you're having any tech issues, if let's say all of a sudden you can't hear the sound, or you're ready to break into song and dance and you want us to put you on, just chat Caroline and she can help with that. And so thank you for everyone for muting. If you have a burning question, just type in the chat in bold letters, question. You don't even have to type what it is. Caroline will know, and she'll be able to say, Sarah, we have a really important question, and she or I can unmute you. And I will give you some information about how you can reach out to me if you want to spend a few more minutes, if there's anything you want to dive deeper into. But please, I know we're all very interactive people, so please don't hesitate to let me know if there's something that you'd like to cover before that. We are recording this so that if all of a sudden in your part of the world the technology does not cooperate and you lose the signal, you're not going to miss out on this webinar. And of course, you can chat each other too. So if you have a question or if you have a comment, you can private chat each other. You can chat the entire group, or you can chat just Caroline or I. I would recommend not chatting me because I won't see it. Caroline's going to be seeing it on behalf of me. Any comments, questions before we get started? Or if you are good to go, just type in the chat. Let's go. Are we getting some goes? All right. Awesome. I'm so excited. Love, love, love my OD people. So thank you so much for being on the line. And we're going to talk about having a business that you absolutely love. So I'm going to just launch the sharing of screens here. Share screen. Let's go. All right. Slideshow from current slide. If you can see this, please type in the chat. See it. And that way we can make sure that everyone is able to see. All right, so we're good to go. Perfect. So I actually did a version of this talk at the International Coaching Federation Conference, have done this with human resources groups, and I'm so very thrilled to also be able to speak with you about it. For those of you who don't know my story, and Aminatou, you did a wonderful job of that introduction. The reason why I own my boutique consulting firm is actually because my son, at the age of 10, had a very, very serious mental health crisis. And I was confronted with the reality that I was spending so much time at work, and I absolutely love my job. I was very, very happy with what I was doing, and yet I just couldn't do what I loved and be available to him the way I needed him to be. And so without the business degree, any funding, a plan, you know, basically without knowing what I'm doing, I started my own business 3.5 years ago. And within 18 months, it grew to a 6-figure business that I absolutely love. It's still growing. And I'm so very thrilled to share with you what I've learned along the way without, as I say, having absolutely any foundation as well. For some of you, you may work for somebody else, which is fine. You're still welcome to be in this community because as we know in the gig economy, they say on average, almost 50% of us will be working a side hustle by 2020. And that's not that far away, right? And for many of you I know on the line, you are working for yourself. And in fact, I think we have a first poll, right, Caroline? You want to launch just to ask people, you know, why did you choose to jump on the webinar? Because we want to make sure as much as I prepared content, want to make sure that we customize it to specifically what you're looking for. So if you can go ahead and record as many things that apply to you. You can choose more than one vote. We're very generous in that way. And for those of you who are joining us on the phone, you're not able to see the polls, and I apologize. I'm going to read the results to you so that at least you know what the poll was. And as I say, you'll be able to watch this whole presentation over again if you like. All right. We're going to close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See, wonderful OD people. Number one reason you're showing up tonight is you like to hang out with really great people, 67%. I love that. That's so good. Which makes my job easy because you're already hanging out with cool people. So I guess everything I share with you is just gravy. Number 2, you're ready to grow your biz, which is awesome. So 42% of you said that. Equal tie for third, 25% said you just started your biz. So I'm super excited that you're here because I will share with you the things that I learned the hard way. And hopefully you won't experience it quite so difficult as I was. You're avoiding doing dishes, laundry, putting kids to bed. And I know that's true. Was it Jen? Was it you were saying that? And then 17% you want to fall back in love with your biz, and thank you for your honesty. When I was about a year into my business, I thought, what the heck am I doing? I mean, not only am I not making very much money, but I was tired. So I completely get that, and I understand why you want to keep falling in love with your business. So I hope that you get all of those things from our time together. And really, ultimately, why do we start a business? Because we love what we do. We're so good at it. We love facilitating. We love being with people. We just love the creative process of whatever area that is that you perform your greatness. And of course, we love helping people get super clear on what they want to do. That we have this unique, beautiful ability to help people get clear when they are so foggy, when they're so tense, when there's so much conflict. We can help them narrow in on it. And not only that, we can't wait to give people another way of being able to work with and communicate with their staff so they don't feel beat up, abused, toxified and so forth, that we can go in there and we can be that support, right? Can everyone relate? Is that kind of why we really love to do what we do and why we want to do it for ourselves? Yeah. If you're like, if that's it, just thumbs up. Am I seeing some thumbs up? I'm seeing a couple. Yeah. All right. But falling out of love is hard because the reality of doing this work in a business context is that we often have to do things that we don't love, like the answering emails, the filing our taxes, the, keeping our books, and so many parts of business that are just not very fun, right? Especially after you spend a long day facilitating out of the office and then you have to come back and then it's all waiting for you. Not to mention that is we just probably feel this backlog, so many things to do. It's like, what do I have to do next? And then of course, money, financially. So many people fail to make either bank compared to what they would have made or were making in a previous job. And there are so many people that I know who have had to go back into paid employment because that's how they're going to be, that they haven't been able to make a go of it. And I'm not critical of anyone, nor am I critical of working for somebody, because I love doing what I did working for an organization. If you're choosing, though, to do this work for yourself, or if you're in that middle of making that transition or you're considering it, you can and you deserve to get paid, and not just some pay. You deserve to get paid as much, if not more, than what you're making in your previous position. And I'm going to share with you all the things that I know of how to make that happen. And I had a lot of people who told me that it was not going to work, especially since we moved, our family relocated to a new community. I lived here when I was a kid, but nobody was going to hire me because they knew that I delivered their papers. But not only that, but I moved back to Niagara, and Niagara is not known for being economically abundant, unless of course you like wine, and well, people who are busy drinking, I can't take their money. So, it was really one of those challenges that I had a lot of people telling me that you couldn't, but I heard a speaker's, one of the dragons from Dragon's Den, talk about the way that you have to almost run your business is to have no plan B. And I'm thinking, well, I guess it's good I didn't have a plan B. I didn't realize that was a good thing at the time, because I had to make it work. I had to bring money into our family so that I can be more available for my son. And I also have a daughter too, so that his mental health could get better, and so that we could help the kids adjust to a whole new life. So falling out of love is hard, and you don't have to fall out of love. If you've fallen out of your love in business, which I know 2 of you had said on the line that you have, well, hopefully you will find your way back to love. And at the very least, you will never feel, if you choose to work full time, or if you choose to go back to it, that you'll never feel that you're trapped by the golden handcuffs, that it will be by choice, and that you will feel that you will have a voice. In fact, if you choose to go back and work for somebody, or that you're already doing that you actually have even more to give because of your experience with side hustle or a full-time hustle. There's so much that you gain from entrepreneurship, a little bit or a lot, that your businesses will benefit from. So this is my family. These are the people who keep me grounded absolutely every day and keep me honest about why I do what I do in business. My number one priority in business, and this is a tip that I'm sure you've probably heard before in various forms, but know exactly what your yeses are. These 3 beautiful people are so high on my yes list, and I haven't had to sacrifice earning a decent wage because my family comes first. And I don't mean I don't work very much. I don't mean they run the show. What I mean is, when I have a client asking for me to do work for them, the very first thing I ask is this a good fit for my family? And I'll give you an example. My son started grade 9 just this year. It was his very last day of school. He was elated when he came home today. But I did not accept a single client engagement in the entire month of September this past year because I wanted to be available to him. And it's a good thing I did because he ran into some bullying experiences. It was not an easy transition. He's come out of it incredibly well, but I am so very glad that I did not have the September that I have coming up because I would not have been able to help him through that time. So number one, it's a family first business. And I'll share with you if you're interested what my other priorities are. This is not all about me, but I share that with you because I know that there's a lot of folks on the line that you're making very conscious choices about why you're running your business. And if nobody has shared this with you, not that you need my permission, but if you're looking for somebody to give you support, I'm going to share it is absolutely okay to decide what sets you alight, what you need most, and to prioritize that in order. And when you know that, it is so much easier to stand tall in your fees and your value. Cool? And so some of the things I'm going to share with you may be a bit of a shift. And it's not really how we think about entrepreneurship or about business or about making money or even perhaps how we thought of our careers. But as we all know, we live this every day. We help our clients with this every day. Change your thoughts, change your world. So, I'm just going to ask you to be really open to hearing things that may be a bit contradictory. And of course, to be curious about the things that are going to affirm how you already are running your biz. Not that, by the way, everything that I do is the gospel. I'm not trying to say that at all. I'm sharing what has worked for me, and I encourage you, welcome you to take from it as a buffet of options of things that may work in your business. And I'm bringing to you the best that I know from others that I've learned from as well. So let's just take another pause for a second and say, so it's 2019. You've had your absolutely most successful year yet. And I'm curious, what are you going to be saying about your business that you're not saying now? So I'm going to ask you to put yourself in that future context and think to yourself. You can jot a few notes down, or if you're extroverted and you want to talk it through out loud, we can unmute you and bring you on the line. What will you be saying about your business that you're not saying now? And so if you want to share, just type in the chat to Caroline or to all of us, share, and we'll unmute you. Let's see if would anyone like to share what you will be saying about your business at the end of 2019? We're normally so talkative.
Okay, Sarah, I'll jump in.
Oh, Seymour, you rock star. Yay!
At the end of 2019, I'm going to give you a call, Sarah. I'm going to say, Sarah, I've had more quality phone calls every week asking for my services than in all the previous years.
Oh, maybe they're demanding they have to work with you, Seymour. They're like, you are the guy. Please, please, please fit me in. Is that what I'm hearing?
Please, yes. With a big P, absolutely.
With a capital P. Oh, I love it. That's so juicy. Awesome. Thank you for jumping in. You are so, and I believe that's going to happen. I absolutely believe it. And thank you for putting it out there in the universe.
Thank you.
Caroline, can you read for us? Caroline, could you read for us what some other folks have shared? I'm going to unmute you.
Someone has mentioned it would be more diversified.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Look at that, top of the class. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Nope, that's all we've got so far.
All right, so here's homework for everyone. I'm going to ask you to write this question down or take a picture of it I know you've got your phone close by because nobody goes anywhere without their phones anymore, right? So I'm going to ask you to really think about this. And in fact, one of the ways in which you could really embrace this is you can create a business vision board. In fact, I have on my wall, I have business vision boards. No, I'm not going to unplug you just in case it breaks the connection. I'm hardwired today. So, but I keep these front and center, and every single year I do a vision board for myself, for my holistic life, but I also have started doing one every single year for my business. And the one of the interesting things I found probably about a year into my business, again, I remember I was mentioning to you, that was a frustrating time. I did a vision board with a number of other organizational development consultants, facilitators, and trainers. And a colleague who had been in the business a few years longer than me, she told me, turn your vision board over and write how much you're going to make. And I said, no, that's not what a vision board's all about. And she said, but you just told me it ended up being more of a vision board for your business as opposed to a holistic board. So why don't you want to write a number? And then I just realized I had not been attracting the idea that I could put a number out there. And I'll be honest with you, that is one of the things, in addition to all these other beautiful things that I had that I wanted from travel and, balance of health and a number of other things that were connected to the business, that number, I will tell you, that number, even though I was way off target for making that number, and we were already 4 months into my 12 months of that business cycle, my business that year doubled as a result of putting that number down. So, and surpassed that number. So I'm not saying that our businesses are all about money. However, part of staying in love with our business, let's be honest, is that we can make bank. Caroline, was there anyone else who mentioned also about what they want at the end of 2019?
Yes, we had a really great comment here. I have clients that bring work that I love to do and are happy to pay for my services. I work with a triple bottom line in mind, and I contribute to social causes. Beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful. If anyone is curious at the end of the call, and if you may be doing this already, but there's been a way that I've been able to find to get charitable tax receipts for my full fee and still be able to contribute and give back to my community. So if anyone wants to ask me about that later, if you don't know already, if you're not already doing that, then by all means ask me. So, because I just so appreciate that beautiful triple bottom line. So thank you for that. Awesome. All right. So the question now is, I'm going to ask you to type in the chat box, which actually best represents how you feel about how your business is running right now. So does it feel like image number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4? So just type in the chat box, which one, if you had to only pick one, which one metaphorically or literally represents, I mean, you may actually physically be lying down on your computer right now and I not be able to see you, and that's number 2. Yeah. So Caroline, you want to unmute yourself and just tell us what seems to be the theme of what we're hearing?
Well, right now it's a balance between number 4 and number 1. We've got one person saying number 2, I need a job.
Number 2, I need a job? Okay.
Yes. So the majority are between 1 and 4.
Mm-hmm. So for the folks that are number 4, I'm curious as to if you can just type in, what is the number 1 thing you want off your plate? If there were one thing that would make it feel less like the Post-it note thing, what would that be? So if you could just type a number 4 and write that thing. For the people who said number 1, if there was kind of one thing, the essence of why, in fact, you feel that your business is more like a number 1, could you type that in for us right now in the chat? Because this is a great opportunity for, learning from each other. And I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. I'm going to give you just 30 seconds to type that in. All right, Caroline, what are we seeing?
We're seeing a lot of responses saying focused. We need to focus on a core service. There's another response, I'm doing good work, but I don't feel like I've hit on my niche yet, which is really interesting. And another one, clarifying the niche.
Oh, we're so going to talk about all this stuff. This is so great.
And we have another really great response. Feel that I'm finishing the planning and getting ready. I just need now to get out there and tell people what amazing things I can bring to them. Someone else is saying they're getting started and brainstorming a ton and feeling overwhelmed. There's another person, a lot of ideas, need to narrow down to core services and get marketing strategy nailed down.
Oh my gosh, you guys are just such an awesome Rockstar Advanced group. This is amazing. And by the way, the individual who was talking about, you know, selling themselves, you probably heard this expression before, but I'm going to say it again because I think I had to hear this probably 10 times before I went, oh my gosh, I really get it. The first sale is to yourself. So when you believe you deserve to make a decent wage, when you deserve to have the best clients, when you deserve to have adaptability, flexibility, whatever the things are in your job that you absolutely love and need, and you know that you deserve it, then your clients will respect that and follow it. So, you know, first sale is to yourself. It sounds a little cliche, but it is ridiculously accurate. All right. So really quickly, a couple things that we're going to do today. Number one thing is there's 5 questions that we're going to talk about that propel your business greatness, or five suggestions, 5 hacks. I'm going to share with you the insight. It's actually 5 years of growth over the last a little over 3 years. And 5 powerful tips about making sure that you stay in love with your business. I want to share with you because I absolutely adore you guys. If you would like a copy of my little book that I put together, this is the old version. This was the original version, but now it looks like that. You just text this number and you can put the message Greatness Biz, and it's short, it's 50 pages, but there's 140 tips. That is all about your greatness biz. So a few of them we're going to touch on today, and then it's full of all kinds of other juicy stuff from sales to service to social media and so forth. And the really interesting story behind this one was Caroline and I were organizing a planning day, an entrepreneur, solopreneur planning day at my house. Roll up your sleeves, get your business sorted out for the year, that kind of thing. It took place in January. I decided to start a closed Facebook group sharing just tips, and I decided to call them Greatness Biz Hacks. And number 1 and number 2 and number 3, and clearly it was hockey season, and I spent a lot of time at rinks, and so I just kept flowing. And Caroline said to me within a week, you know, you have a lot of hacks up here. Maybe we should pull these all together in one place. I don't know if everybody's able to consume them. And it was this stream of consciousness thing. They weren't organized. So I said, that's amazing. Would you like to organize it for me? And she did, because she's awesome. So this booklet, and I'm sharing this context with all of you because this is how easy it can be to create a product. It took no more than 1 day of my time between those quick tips, putting them up online, and then proofreading what Caroline put together for me. It took 1 day of my time. Caroline, I think it was maybe 6 days of your time in organizing, proofreading, getting it up on Amazon, which we probably wouldn't have bothered to do in the future. But so 7 days total to be able to put this together. So anyway, if you'd like it, you're welcome to have it. If you don't need it, you don't want it, no problem. Okay, so let's jump right into our hacks. Number 1, and some people have already said this, and I'm just so absolutely thrilled because I did not know this. You're all way farther ahead than I was when I started my business. Diversify your revenue streams. And of course, I like to talk about how this recession, regression, and transgression proofs your business. In other words, no matter what the economy is doing, if you move, all the things that can happen, it allows you to make sure that you have consistent revenue that's coming in. So I'll just share with you full transparency. My business was built kind of accidentally. I just put up my shingle. I told a whole bunch of people that I knew, that I had worked with before, I used to work with in previous organizations, or that I knew because I was of my senior leadership role. I had a lot of partnership relationships. And I just said, I'm going to go into business on my own. I'm a professional coach, as you know. I also do training. I do training on anything you want, and I do consulting on anything you want, not-for-profit, corporate, doesn't matter. Strategic planning, program planning. You had a difficult conversation, I'll come in and help you have it. It was just everything. And it was just, I just wanted to make money. Can anyone relate to this sort of thing, starting out this way? If you can relate, just can you put the word in the chat box to make me feel better, relate. If you can't relate, then by all means, don't put it in there. But I think we got some, yep, relate. Oh, lots of exclamation marks from Jennifer. Thank you. That makes me feel so much better. Yeah, so often. And you know what? We have so much to offer. I mean, that's part of it, is like we just talked about at the beginning of this webinar, as we do actually have such love for what we do. We give so many tools. I mean, is there another profession that is as awesome as us in organizational development? I would challenge somebody to figure that out. So we have so much to offer, and yet what ends up happening is we actually cheat ourselves of being able to build the most successful business model. So instead, what started to happen is actually pulling together a plan with greater strategic alignment. And so yes, kept the coaching and the training, the consulting. However, I began to niche as a brand. So my area of expertise, as you heard from Amanata's introduction, is recognition. Because I strongly believe, from the work that I've done, the books that I've written, obviously you can tell, that I strongly believe that if people acknowledge each other and use the most effective strategies in organizations, that's how we build a better employee experience. People are more engaged. We retain our top talent. And we all know, all of us organizational development folks know, that we're in the midst of a talent shortage that shows no signs of easing until 2030. So this addresses a real business issue, and it's accessible. It's accessible across not-for-profit. I've worked global multinational corporations now too. So it's, it's the whole spectrum. And yes, occasionally for the right client, I will step outside of that training room, that training area. But for the most part, that's all I train on. And part of the benefit of that is that I'm not constantly creating new content. I mean, does anyone here feel exhausted because you have yet another slide deck to create, yet another webinar to build, yet another speech to prepare? If you feel exhausted by that, please type in or yes or pain. Maybe you've gotten over that and you don't do that anymore, and so this isn't an issue. But if in fact you're in that situation right now, it sounds, a couple of you, I'm tired. Absolutely. Yes, it is tiring. And so the strategic alignment piece helps you to be able to build your content that works, keep testing it, keep perfecting it, but you don't have to build something new every time. The consulting, therefore, can be what you most love, and specifically around that area. So as you heard, in my case, I help organizations, small to very large, local to multinational, rebuild their recognition strategy that works with their people plan and so forth. But I don't do strategic planning anymore. I don't do program planning. There's so many things that I used to do that I don't do anymore. And there's an expression, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And so what do you love? That's one of the things I'm going to ask you to think about. What do you absolutely love to do? And you could, take a piece of paper and fold it in half. Write down all the things you love to do in organizational development. And then on the other side of that piece of paper, what do you not love? You may be the best at doing it, but you just don't love it. I will confess, I don't like doing strategic planning. I do it really, really well, but I don't like it. So how well can I do it truly for my clients? I'm certainly not learning. I'm certainly not growing. I don't know the latest research in it. So I've stopped doing it, because actually by accepting those engagements, I was ripping off my client. So that's the other part of it, is that, you do your best work when you're really, really niched and you're focused and you have that alignment. I was also, though, able to start building virtual programs. And this is where you can start to have passive revenue. And I'm not saying, by the way, this is the golden gateway to floods of money. Lots of people would describe it that way, like, oh, I just, I created a program and I've now made 6 figures from it. It is a lot more complicated than that, but it's a way of augmenting and having additional offerings for your client. And when it's aligned, you can bundle these things together. Keynote speaking has been such a godsend. I don't know if anyone does speaking. If you do speaking, just type in the chat box yes. If you aren't doing keynote speaking and you'd like to, just say plan to in the chat box. Because the amazing thing about keynote speaking is when people hear you, and you usually have a large group of people. Now, of course, it ranges. This week alone, I've had a group of 20, and I've had a group of a few hundred. So it really always ranges. But every one of those people hear you, they may potentially be clients that you haven't yet booked. So plan to, lots of people plan to, that's amazing. By the way, especially since so many of you are from Toronto, Canadian Association of Professional Speakers has been one of the most wonderful things that I have learned about in my business. If anyone would like to come and be my guest at a meeting in the fall, they don't have any more development sessions in the interim, but you're welcome to come and be my guest for an evening session. So just send me an email, sarah@greatnessmagnified.com, and you can Google, if you want, CAPS Toronto events, CAPS, Canadian Association Professional Speakers, Toronto events. So you can see who we have as speakers and what they're speaking on, and come and join me. But, you know, the interesting thing is, so a group a couple of days ago that I was speaking for, it was one organization, a corporate client. I didn't think I'd get any additional business unless they wanted to bring me back in a future year. But what I didn't realize is that they were each from a different long-term care home across the entire country. And only 2 max people from that organization were there. And they thought, you know what, we need this so much. We need this to come to our organization. So I've already had a number of conversations, including with the sponsor of that event, said, I love it. We need to bring you into our organization. So that's one of the powerful things about keynote speaking, is that you reach a whole group of clients that may have never heard of you, but they fall in love with you, and your best marketing is your best product. And when you have an amazing speech, of which I've invested heavily in speaking coaches and really tried to perfect that part of my craft, it also pays really well and helps you to have good fee integrity to build that up. Okay, if you have any, oh yeah, Caroline, you're sharing a message about the text message. Okay, perfect. Thank you for doing that. And then finally, books and products. You don't have to have any books and products. I got to tell you, I do not like lugging around my books and products, but on the flip side to that, it brought in 5 figures into my business last year just simply by having them. So if you want to talk more in our Q&A period about what products I have and how I develop them, or how you could, and we could brainstorm together, happy to talk about that. But you can go to my, if you want to just see, like, as an example, you know, I have coaching cards, I have a book, I have a workbook, the book that, you know, some of you were trying to access. We have kudos cards, thank you cards, because my brand is Frog, Forever Recognized Others' Greatness. I have little frogs on ribbons, so frog charms, squishy frogs that people can hand out and use for fun, spontaneous recognition. So in other words, this whole strategic alignment piece where you're known as a brand. In other words, brand being how people describe you when you're not there, how people know you. When it's all together, it's so much easier for people to refer you. And it's so much easier for you to really zone in on that one area of knowledge and expertise. And when you know that, then you know where the gaps are, and that's where your products and your services come in. Because then you can be what Joe Calloway, if you haven't read the book, Being a Category of One, I highly recommend it, because being a category of one is all about how do you use, and it's not about being exclusionary. It's not about not being collaborative. It's about being the best you can in your specific niche. And niche is good. I know a lot of you already talked about niche. Now, I'm going to want to just pause there. Caroline, have we had anybody comment in the chats, questions or comments that I should stop there for a second and address? All right, before I carry on, I want to just ask you, and you can be honest with me, is this what you're expecting so far? I mean, we got tons and tons more content left to go, but is this kind of what you're expecting so far? Type yes, and if it's not, please be honest with me, because we can course correct as we go. So yes, Jennifer, I love that exclamation marks. Yay, that's so great. So great. Cool. All right, I'm going to keep going then. Thank you. Yeah, keep going. Perfect. All right, I want to share with you something that a beautiful, beautiful soul from from the West Coast, Hugh Culver. He's a fellow speaker. He's a marketing guru. He used to specialize in customer service. He's done a bit of everything. He's got a really neat model which teaches us about the importance of thinking about our services and our products at multiple levels. At the very basis of any pyramid, any one of our pyramid, and our pyramids are going to look different, and that is good. But the point is we need to be able to serve people at multiple levels. And I'm going to get to in a minute, after I describe this model, how it also serves you by you serving other people in this way. So the very basis of the pyramid where you have the most things available are things that cost they cost nothing. You produce it once and you don't have to maybe do anything about it. Maybe you want to tweak it, or you want to, your branding changes. That's why if you go onto my website, one of the precious real estate, those tabs, is cool stuff. It's all free stuff. It allows me to say on the stage or in a webinar, or when I meet somebody for the first time and I think possibly we could do business, they might be the right client. You know what? No pressure. Why don't you jump over and take a look at what's available in free stuff. If there's anything there that you want, awesome. And they end up getting on my mailing list. They can unsubscribe anytime, but it allows them to experience what I have available. And they will deselect if they're not the right fit or if it's not something that they want. But the point is having lots and lots of things available at that free level. I used to charge for this book, and I've decided, you know what? It cost me $3 to print it, $2 to not even to send it in the mail. It wasn't very expensive to produce. Why? And of course, it costs nothing if I send it to you electronically. I now officially have that in the base of my pyramid. When my bookkeeper said, is it going to go into inventory, which is my nemesis, by the way, or are you going to just give it away? I would recommend just giving it away. It's just a cost. Now it's a marketing budget line, or it's a customer get growth or a, customer service giveaway. It's actually now in the bottom line. It was going to be in that next level up. All right. Low cost, low touch products and services. In other words, whoever you're serving, this is the thinking pattern there is, you know what? I don't even have to think about it. It's so affordable. It seems like such great value. It's a no-brainer. I'm going to buy it. Has anybody ever bought something because it was $7 or $47 or $97 or $197 and you didn't really think that hard about it? And I'm talking about like a professional product, like a course or a book or something like that, and you just bought it because it was just like, well, if it helps me just a tiny bit, then great, I'll do it. If that applies to you, type yes. If it doesn't apply to you, type no, obviously. But have you ever bought something for your business or for your own professional development and you didn't even really think about it? Yes, exactly. Sure. That is probably because for that client, it fell into their pyramid, whether they have that consciously or not, into that low cost, low touch. Now, evergreen things, in other words, something that you produce and that you can keep offering, and it's something that you've taken some time to develop. Those would be things in that category, such as a brief e-course, or maybe it's a group coaching that you do that's very low cost and it's very short term. That's the sort of thing that may fall in that. If you have an event, Caroline, a speaker, and we do an Admin Professional Celebration Day. There's a lot of people who show up. We all deliver the stuff that we've done. That is kind of it's a lower cost. It's about $197 if people get the early bird rate, or if they buy group. My clients don't even have to think twice. Is my admin assistant worth $200? Yeah. So that falls into that category. The next level up is average cost, average touch services. So this might require a bit more of your effort, but people also get a bit more in return, and they may have to get budget approval if it's something for their organization, which is the B2B, business to business, if it's a business to business offering. If it's a B2C, business to consumer or business to customer, and you may be that customer if let's say you're buying something from a fellow entrepreneur, that's something that you maybe need to think about. So I've bought programs that are $1,500, $2,500, and I think, do I really need it? Am I going to take the time? Like you do a bit more thinking through that, don't you? You evaluate, do I want to spend my money here? And you may think I'm going to get a lot of value out of it, but it still causes you pause. a chance to pause, but you probably get a bit more from it. So for example, business coach that I have right now, Taki Moore, Taki, he has a group coaching call every 2 weeks. It has people from around the world. There's hundreds of people who show up every 2 weeks. So you very rarely get on the phone or are able to ask them a question. But the content that you hear from people is so good that people don't mind spending the couple $1,000s to be in this group coaching program. But I have to say, I did think twice before spending $50 and $100 compared to, let's say, it was $150. So I'm just curious, has anybody bought something that's more in the average cost where you thought, this is really good value, but I am going to evaluate if I'm going to buy it? You had to think twice. If that's you, type yes. If it's not you, just type no in the chat box. Yeah, so there you go. So you're buying from people who follow this formula. So if it's worked well for you as a consumer, why wouldn't it work well for you as the entrepreneur, right? And then finally, at the top of the pyramid, these are the things that are your most precious commodity, which is probably your time. So when I do one-on-one coaching, whether it's business coaching, whether it's professional coaching with people who are transitioning in their career, that's going to cost more. When I have to fly or I have to drive to somewhere to do a speaking engagement, that's my higher cost offerings. And those are the things that I do not compromise on. My price is my price. And if it's not in somebody's budget, I completely understand. I have huge love for them. I often refer them on to other people because then I serve them. And then somebody else gets work. But the high touch point things, I know that there's only so much of me that I've got. And remember, my number one priority is to be a family-centric entrepreneur. As soon as I compromise at that top level, I'm not following my number one priority anymore. So I'm just going to take a pause there and ask, do people have, what offerings do you have at level 1, which is no cost, level 2 at low cost, number 3 at average cost, number 4 at high cost? And by the way, when I ask you to type in what levels you have, 1, 2, 3, and or 4 in the chat box, you may still be figuring out what those price points are, and that's totally good. I'm just curious if you have I'm really just trying to get a sense as to, if people have a range, or if you're like me, I had everything at the top. That was all I offered when I first started business until I had a book, and then I had something in the middle. So, all right, cool. So lots of things at once. So you're giving lots of things away. Other folks have things at the top. Most of mine are high cost. You know what you've just shared here in terms of those people having things at the bottom, at the top, that's almost always where we're at. And so thank you for your honesty and your transparency, everyone. I have huge respect for that. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to show you this, because there is such a great opportunity to leverage not just your to make more money, but also to serve. Because does anyone here have clients who can't afford you at number 4? Anyone here? Just type yes if you have clients that you want to give value to, but they can't afford your number 4 pricing. Yeah, everybody does, exactly. So it's not, sometimes people worry that, am I preying on people? Is it manipulative? Is it, is it sneaky to not be able to give all of me, but really, they benefit most if they're at the top level? No, it's serving people. Because if you don't have something they can afford, then they can't buy it. And then where are they going to go? You're awesome. People need you. People need you. And so having something at each of those levels means that you can support people where they're at. The other thing is, from a sales perspective, it helps people to warm up to you, because probably sometimes you have people who are interested in purchasing your services, but don't know you. Maybe they've received a referral, which helps to warm things up, but they may actually not be totally sold. Perhaps they're wanting you to do a big RFP, or, they want to check to see if you're the right person. Well, having multiple offerings also allows them to experience what you have to offer without there being a lot of pressure to buy the whole farm. Does that make sense? And the last reason why I just love this model is that it allows you to have greater scale. this scale is one of the most important things that I hope you take away from our time together about building a six-figure business that you love. Anyone can have a six-figure business and you're working every hour under the sun and you never see your family and you never see the light of day. Anyone can have a business where you go broke, where you have lots and lots of free time, but the only people who are going to buy from you are number four, and you can't, and it's going to be too hard to get a lot of them. We don't want to be at those extremes. What we want to be able to do is we want to be able to fill multiple pipelines, so that in fact you can serve the most number of people over time. And this is this framework, and this is actually how I do my business planning. What I do is I write down the types of services that I do. Remember those across the top things that I shared? I actually write it into a spreadsheet. And then I put my projected, what I expect I'll be able to make, or how many clients I'll be able to serve. And then I go in and I write my actual. And the pink is where I have not met it. The yellow is where I've met it. Some months in some categories, I blow it out of the water. On months, I'm like, wow, I didn't sell one book. I guess I'm off my $500. It keeps me honest. It keeps you measuring on an ongoing basis, but also I can go back and see, is there anything I want to do in terms of promoting what I have available? Or in fact, am I trying to serve people in a way that they don't want it or need it? Does that make sense? So let me show you the context, just to give you an example, virtual programs, and how you can think of this differently at different levels. And interesting, I'm glad that I picked the example of level 2 and level 3. I'm going to show you a level 3 example first, because what's interesting is that virtual programs can start to fill that inner inside of the pyramid. So for example, let's say you develop a virtual program and it's $1,000 per person, $997. Well, my program, it costs me $1,300 a year to buy. I use a system called Rizuku. Maybe I put a few Facebook ads. By the way, I never do Facebook ads anymore. I'm sure I will in the future, but I never do. Let's say I budget $100. Maybe I have a little bit of a web designer's time I need to hire to be able to design some nice things or a logo or whatever. So my sunk costs are $1,600 a year. And some of those I'll never have to pay for them again, such as a web designer and other things that's year to year. Let's say only 25 people bought my program at $1,000. That's $25,000. After I pay my expenses, that's $23,000 that I have in the bank by putting one product in that level 3. And if you think, and again, you will know better than I would, and I'm just using this as an example, about what is in fact for your target market, what is a level 3. For some of you, who you're serving, it's actually going to be more like $5,000 because you work with C-suite or you work with, people with just like buckets of money that they wouldn't take you seriously unless it were high enough. For other folks who are perhaps working in very small not-for-profits, perhaps a real stretch for them might be $300. So, adjust that number according to your own knowing who your client is or who you like to serve. And by the way, if you don't know who that is, that's okay too. We're all figuring it out. But, the point is that you can develop something, and it doesn't have to be a virtual program. You use this as an example. You can develop a course. You can develop a live event. You can develop a workbook sort of program at a level 3 that you can then scale out. Here's the flip side to that. So lower cost. Let's say you decide only to charge $100 per person, but you get 250 people because it's such an easy ask. People buy it just like that. You still make the same money. It's just you have more people who are going to purchase that. So I wanted to show you a few ways to work the numbers. And for perhaps the one that I showed you first, maybe you throw in some group coaching time with that. This next one, there's none of that. The great news is it's your own business. You can design it however you want and make it work for you. But the most important thing to ask is, what are your customers saying? Because that will help you figure out what are those products and services that you could be creating. So for example, I had clients saying to me, I'm too busy to implement. I don't know how to figure out how to bring recognition to my workplace. I show up for a day, I do half a day or a full day of leadership development, but I don't really feel like beyond the tools you showed me and we practiced, I don't really know how to do this. So that's why we developed the workbook. That's why we developed the workbook, which is full, OD people, of OD tools. We had so much fun building this. And then other folks said, well, we're virtual. We can't have a paper copy of a workbook. That's why we developed the membership-based site. So I'm not going to go through all these examples, but I just wanted to share, these are actual things that clients have said to me. And for you, I'm sure your clients are already sharing their pain points too. They may not even be sharing their pain point about specifically what you do. I mean, I had a client who said, I'm too busy to figure out how to implement this, but they may be saying to you, I'm too busy to figure out how to get stuff done. It's like, how could I make this really easy for them? And would they pay $25, $100, $1,000 to make this easier for them because they know they need to do it? That's kind of the thinking. Are you with me? That's the kind of thinking that we need to do. So if you're not already doing it, however you keep track of great ideas, Post-it notes, a good ideas folder, your Evernote app, a journal, calling your husband, write this down, honey. Whatever way that is, keep track of what you hear your customers saying. And that's where those smiley sheets, I can show you an example of how I use a smiley sheet in a much more much more purposeful way than I ever did before. But I take those smiley sheets, we really mine for that to figure out what are people saying they need more of, because that's where there's new products, services, books, workshops, and also how I can help my client understand how they can bring me back. And that about 75% of my business is repeat. And I am responsible for part of that because I have to help my client understand if they really want to keep working with me, but they've already had me in for my signature keynote, or they've already brought me in for doing leadership development, how else can we work together? And that's where getting some good feedback from those tools and by listening to them helps with that. All right. Here's just what it looks like, the virtual program that I developed, 50 Weeks of Greatness. I just share this with you because sometimes I don't know about you, but I'm a visual person. I kind of need to know what that looks like. So it's as simple as, there are a number of lessons. I describe the course a little bit, talks a little bit about me. I have at listening to your customers. Some people have said, well, I want to try a few modules before I buy. So I have a few sample modules on there now. Some people say that, well, I can't afford it all at once. So now we have a monthly installment option. Listening to your customers allows you to also keep tweaking the products that you have as well. All right. Whew, that was a lot on hack number 1. Are you full? You've already put in a whole day. I think, Caroline, do we have a poll at this point? Caroline. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so what revenue streams, I'm curious, because we've spent a lot of time talking about all the ways in which we can bring in some revenue streams. What are your current revenue streams that you have in your biz that you want to keep? And what are the revenue streams that you want to have in your biz in 2019? So some of these things you do currently that you're going to take perhaps out of the mix that doesn't fit with that vision for 2019. Other things you want to add in. And sorry, folks who are just phoning in that you can't participate in the poll. I'm going to read off all the results to you so you don't miss it that way. All right. I'm going to close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, end polling. Awesome. Okay, number 1, 70% of folks said coaching. Tied for half of folks said facilitation and consulting. 40% of people professional speaking, virtual courses, and 30% of people training. 20% of people live events, 20% books, 30% products, and other. Oh, I'm curious. Feel free to type in what your other is. I'm just too curious not to know what your other is. So you can see what a beautiful example of what a range of things that you have to offer. Although we all are brilliant, beautiful experts in training and organizational development, hence TNOD Network. But what you choose to use as your unique combination of your business is going to be different. And that's great because that means you're listening to your customers and you're also listening to your own internal compass. Your best business advisor is always your gut. Have you ever shown up to work with a client and you go, oh God, I got to do a whole day of this? If you can feel me, type yes. Yes, I've had that feeling like, oh God, I can't believe I have to work with this client, or I can't believe I have to work doing this particular type of work. I'm just curious. If you've never had that day, then by all means type no. Oh, the other was mediation, conflict resolution, restorative justice. I love that. Awesome. Yeah. Couple people. Yes. You've had that. Oh, also team building escape room. Oh, that's cool. See, such cool, fun stuff. I love it. So maybe you haven't been having that experience where you show up. I will admit to you, I have early in my business, I would have days where I would show up and I'd think, I don't want to do this. And you know what? As much as I did my best to deliver on what I promised my client, I didn't do as good a job as if I absolutely loved it. So this is where the next business hack, being an expert, is essential, because if you love what you do and you deep dive into it, you're more, no matter what modality, we just talked modalities, no matter what modality you choose to offer it in, you're going to give the best value. So the question I ask you, and again, you can reflect on this, you can use this as sort of like homework, maybe you already know, maybe you're already doing this. If you could only focus on one thing in your biz for the rest of your life, and again, I'm not talking about the house, the modalities. This is the concept. What would it be? So if you could just type it in the chat box, if you already know it, if you've already got that as your brand, or if you've got an intuitive hit, what would it be? Okay, so for Jennifer, developing new emerging leaders. Love it. Super, super clear exactly who you're targeting. And thank you for not saying millennials. Millennials hate being pointed out. I've learned that so many times from speaking. I don't point them out, but by me saying, I am not going to point you out, they cheer. Yay! So that is awesome. Designing more humane organizations. Awesome. So, you know, the clear somebody can see and understand what that is. I used to have on my website, humanizing workplaces, and people went, oh, that sounds interesting. It started a conversation. Has anybody ever hired me for humanizing their workplace? No, because I don't even really know what that means. I just think I like the sound of it. That's where recognition, people know what that thing is. So this is one of the things that I'll share with you just from experience, is the clearer you can be, especially if it's language the client understands, the better. Now, you can choose to be a contrarian. Contrarians get a lot of attention too. Sean Archer, who wrote all this work around happiness, people weren't asking 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we need to get a happiness speaker in here, facilitator. And he's built a multi-million-dollar business around happiness. But, you know, knowing what that thing is, and if you're going to be the one filling a need that exists and being really clear and attaching it to the client's language already, or creating a new need, people were not asking for recognition stuff. What they were asking for is somebody who can help them address this not even, you know what, it wasn't even addressing the turnover issue, because I keep telling people, you have a turnover problem. I don't even know your organization. I know you have a turnover problem. But what they do know is that it's costing them a lot of money when people do leave, and they speak in the language of money. And what they do know is that people aren't happy around here, and that morale is an issue. So when I can help quantify that we've got a solution that fixes that, that's when I can say, and the strategy is recognition. And they go, okay, I know what recognition is. And by the way, I decided to trademark my brand. It is about the most expensive thing I've done in my business, more expensive than incorporating my business, if you can believe it. So, you know, if you love your brand and you don't want it stolen, then by all means trademark it. But it's by trademarking in the US, honestly, it has cost me at least $10,000. So I don't know about you. That makes me want to just faint, because that's a really nice holiday. But anyway, that's something to think about. You can specialize without having to trademark. But, oh, this is weird. Some of the pictures don't turn on this side. How very fun for everybody. Your brand, whatever you choose, is an extension of you. I mean, not only will it end up being more and more part of your virtual programs and your products and so forth, but also, like, I carry squishy frogs in my pocket, and I will say to random strangers, or my kids will get them out of my purse and hand them a stranger, and we say weird things like, have you been frogged lately? And of course, people look at you like either they're going to call security or they start laughing because they're curious about what that means. But I live the brand of recognition all the time, whether I go to Starbucks and there's an amazing barista, or, you know, I'm at the airport and somebody who's helped me through security has been absolutely wonderful and helped me with directions. It's a part of who I am. And that's why I say that question earlier about if you can do one thing for the rest of your life, because then it's consistent and it is all throughout your life, and it doesn't feel like work, and it doesn't feel like effort. And then your clients, so for example, that middle picture near the bottom, all those frogs on the window, that was after I did a whole bunch of development and training at Northbrook General Hospital around recognition. I helped them with revamp their program, and then did a lot of leadership development, and then I did some admin professional celebration stuff. They spontaneously, somebody on a committee decided for Patient Safety Week, let's frog people. And so they had the public involved, they had staff, and they had physicians, and they took it and they ran with it. So that's the thing about, again, when you're known for something, your clients say, I'm known as the frog lady sometimes, or didn't you talk about lily pads or whatever? Like that, this is how you become known, and people remember you. And that's part of what's essential, is that people remember you long after you've left the room, long after the training's over, the coaching's done, or what have you, especially when it's you're one of many people who've been on the agenda, the leadership development curriculum, or that conference that you've spoken at, or people have done a whole bunch of courses, not just yours, virtual courses. How are you memorable? That's part of how you're going to be able to monetize. So this is the book I was telling you about. What makes you unique? What makes you a category of one? There is no other person that legitimately talks about frog, and there's very, very few people across North America who talk about recognition. There could be, in 5 years from now, there could be all kinds of us, but there's only, to the best of my knowledge, only 3 others in Canada, and none of them are represented by the bureaus or the agents that represent me. So this is one of the reasons why I can get picked up and have growth, is because you're trying to put yourself out there as a category of one. And please let me be really, really clear when I say it is not to exclude people. This pie is big enough for all of us. A few of us have talked about when we were getting, culture to each other on the line before we started our webinar, that lots of us are in the space of organizational engagement. There is such a huge engagement problem. There's room for all of us. And I'm thrilled that there are so many of us trying to help clients in many ways. How is your way that you're going to help people? Now, before I move on, Caroline, do we have a poll at this point? I can't remember. I'm so in the zone with all of you. I can't remember if we have a poll. Just unmute yourself and let me know yes or no.
We do. We have one serving.
Okay. Can you pop it up, please?
Ready?
Yes. Okay. I think, we're going to come back to this one. I think, serving, no, you know what? That's okay. By the end of 2019, how will you be serving your raving fans? We're going to talk more about raving fans in a second. Are you going to be wanting to donate your services? Doing more blogs or vlogs, or just video blogs? Podcast? Are you going to be doing media like, newspapers or TV interviews? Voice talk. I love that you guys know what voice talk is. So few people know what voice talk. For those of you who don't know, it's the emerging trend where you can ask for your favorite messages on Alexa or Google Home, and can give you tips of the day. Amazing place to really make your mark as an expert, or something else. So we're just going to keep that poll going for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so let's just end that poll. So love that. For those of you who are going to be donating services, if you want to stay on the line and chat a little bit about how you can do that and get a full tax receipt for the full cost of your services, happy to do that. If you're incorporated, you can do that. Blogs and vlogs. If you, I just filmed, actually, I batch film my vlogs. I have my videographer over today, and I filmed a vlog about how to film vlogs. So that'll be coming out. But if you want in the interim to have my vlog template, happy to share it with you. Just email me, Sarah@greatnessmagnified.com. So social media, voice talk, awesome. For those of you who haven't read any of Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V is the short form for his last name, but Vaynerchuk, Vaynerchuck, he's a social media guru. And I highly recommend, of course, I can't get my hands on his books really quickly. Maybe it's here. Lots of really great books in terms of how to use what platforms to use for social media. Jab, 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 Right Hook is probably has been my favorite book up until this latest one, which is Crushing It. And it talks about how you can serve through social media. And also it gives you exposure and broadens your audience. All right. Thanks guys for doing another poll. Cool. All right. Serve. That's exactly what we're talking about. So, Facebook. If you're not doing lives regularly, sharing posts, being part of part of groups, I highly recommend doing that. I started a Facebook group, a public group, Great Happy People. A couple weeks ago, we got up to 1,000 people within a week. And do I sell on it? Absolutely not. But it's about exposure and it's about serving. Because if you serve first, then people don't feel it's cringy. You can also serve though by being a contributor regularly to newspaper articles, to magazines. If it's the people who are going to buy from you, that's worth the energy. And you can begin to repurpose your content and just tweak it a bit so that it's original enough for that article or for that publication. By doing that, by being on their list and by them starting to come to you. And it allows you to stay top of mind for people. And remember how I was talking about the sales process, you want to keep warming people up. It allows you to by keeping front of mind, it continues to warm people up before they're ready. They may make a buying decision with you in 5 years from now, but if they see you regularly, you've spoken at that conference and you were in that article and you were on that podcast, it's like, this person's everywhere. My gosh, they are such an expert. You may even have people coming to you to be actually interviewed for specials, for brief newscasts. You may be asked to come in and be a guest expert for your alumni association. And by the way, I wouldn't worry about, sometimes people don't want to get into speaking because they think, well, you don't make any money. Everybody's always talking about how the breakout sessions don't make any money. Well, not always. Sometimes they will find the money if they have asked you, if they have come to you because you are the expert. But also even just part of associations, by being known for that and serving through your associations. I have gotten so much referral work through my associations, particularly CAPS. And similarly, I've given a lot of referral work. Just this week, I've had a couple of back and forths with other speakers. We'll share at an amazing event. These are totally your people. I've already recommended you to the organizer. We just know we've seen each other present. We feel totally confident putting our reputation on the line by recommending them. And that's a beautiful thing. But you can do that with consulting, of course, with facilitation. Anyone to have done that where you've recommended somebody, if you're busy or if you know somebody's a better fit, or if the client's looking for somebody new, if you've done that, you've referred your clients or your colleagues, I should say, just type in yes. If you haven't yet, just say not yet. Because I think, I just did. Look at it, Jennifer, you're already on it. That's awesome. So you get all of this stuff. This is beautiful. One of the things that often us OD people don't do though is the publicity stuff. And that's more the top side of this graph or this slide. So I'm going to give you a few suggestions of how you can get yourself out there if you're not already. Of course, by the way, just as a side note, for the publications that you read, you will see who the publisher is and who the editor is. I would just reach out to them. You can find just about anybody through LinkedIn now. Friend them, send them a message. And if they're worth their salt as a publisher, they will be active in the LinkedIn world. But, if you want to broaden your exposure, though, if you sign up for the mailing HARO, Help a Reporter Out, you will get 3 times a day in your inbox requests for people from reporters all over the world. Mostly it's North America, though. They're looking for podcast guests. They're looking for blog contributors. They're looking for people sometimes to write a whole interview, even to interview you. And when you answer as enough of these, what ends up happening is you get on their database as a really great contributor, and then they start reaching out to you. So it's a combination of you reaching out to them, and that as opposed to just waiting for the phone to ring on your end. And one of my investments at that level 3 of the pyramid was a media course. I did it virtually and there was some coaching with it. I've had way, way, way more luck by reaching out to folks in HARO. And you can ask Caroline because she does my weekly mailings. almost every week we have a link to something that where I've been profiled in. And I may get no work from that particular post, but the people who are my raving fans who get my mailing on a weekly basis, they're seeing that if other people are picking me up, then there must be something she has to say. Plus I just love being able to, continue to spread what I feel super passionately about. Ask Me Anything AMA is also another great source. It's live for a while, but lots of people fire questions at you. This was a bit of an experiment. I have no idea if I'm actually going to get any work from this, but the number of questions I got in just a week's time was incredible. And I had asked some of my speaking colleagues, is this something that's worth my time? And other people said, absolutely, it's really good because it's got a huge following. So you just create a profile, and then you regularly get people in that time when your profile is at the top of the pack. You get lots and lots of questions. So pick a week where you decide to go live, where you have some time to be very responsive to their questions. Of course, being part of Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, and also if you haven't already set up Google Alerts, please set up a Google Alert with your name and your business name, and if you have a brand or trademark, for sure, because you want to stay on top of any bad publicity. If you get a review that doesn't make you look good or whatever, then of course, if somebody's using your stuff and passing it off as their own, but let's just assume that never happens. It's more so call for presenters. So you can actually type in call for presenters, engineers, if let's say you want to speak for engineers. So whatever you want to look for in terms of business, request for proposals, request for service, call for speakers, abstracts, requests for or queries for information, anything that you think might be how people will put it in their description, either in the description in the body or on the title, then it'll again automatically put it into your inbox you can set the alert. You can have it once a week, you can have it once a month, you can have it 3 times a day, whatever you want. But the other thing is to stay on top of your field, you can put your terms in. Now, it doesn't work very well for mine because most of the recognition stuff is like voice recognition and speech recognition. And so I don't even look at those anymore. But for you, for Jen, let's say, Jennifer, emerging leaders, that term together, emerging leaders, quotation mark, every time those 2 words come together, you'll be able to see that. And so, when we talked before about the importance of like how to price point what you offer, it's important to know who you serve. Are you serving the stressed out middle manager? Are you serving the Zen, enlightened near the end of her career executive? Are you serving the up and coming entrepreneurial business student? Are you serving the frustrated frontline service practitioner who wants to do a good job but is beaten up by her boss? Are you serving the person on the far right, somebody who doesn't have a voice but so much to say and is bursting at the bit? Like, who is the person that you serve? And my best advice to you, if you don't already know this crystal clear in your mind, is pick somebody that you've loved working with and write as much as you know about them. What are their interests? What do they do on social media, and what social media are they on? What have been their jobs? What groups do they belong to? Like, know as much as you can, or if you can develop a profile of a few people who resemble that, that's great, because it helps you to determine how do you use your time. So for example, for folks who are serving emerging leaders, and you realize emerging leaders for you are in your industry that you want to work with are usually people who, let's say, are up to the age of 25. Let's say it's emerging leaders in retail. You probably want to be on Snapchat and Instagram and have a very, very active presence there, but less so maybe on LinkedIn, and definitely not that much on Facebook. Whereas if you serve busy executives of Fortune 500 companies, you probably want a really active Twitter profile and be constantly contributing to LinkedIn articles and try to be an influencer. So knowing who your client is allows you to determine how you use your time, but also going back to all the things we've already done around price point, it allows you to price things about what that works for them. Because you can imagine those different folks will pay different amounts for what you have to offer. And I'll share with you, because I know for me, the word sales felt dirty and cringy. oh, I didn't like that. But what I've come to realize is it's actually not sales at all. It's service. A great example of that, I'd already been booked for a speech that I did last Friday. It was in my local community. It was part of a recognition event. I mean, it seemed on the surface like the perfect client. I got it easily. It was a referral. Wonderful, wonderful. Full fee, great, great. The organizer, when we had our last call, she was really having a hard time. So I asked, what can I do for you? And she's like, no, there's nothing you can do for me. I just need to, there's some final arrangements. And I said, no, what can I do for you personally? You're working so hard. You care so much about this event. You care so much about the people. And it doesn't sound like you're getting the appreciation. Well, I just want to say I've worked with you through this whole process. I so value what you've done. And you've gone above and beyond. I work with a lot of people who organize events. This isn't even in your job description. And you have far surpassed even what I normally experience. So even if you've not been appreciated and you feel like you have too many things to do in too short a time, you've already made a successful event. Well, she I think will be my friend for life. And I meant every word of it. But that's my point is sales is every interaction that you have with them. Frankly, it's every post you put up on social media. It's it's everything that you do when you're an entrepreneur. And you're constantly reinforcing that you are the right person to buy from. Even when they've already paid you, even when you've already got that sale, it's always reinforcing your value because you're always serving. And I don't mean you're giving more of yourself. If she had asked me, you know what I'd love for you, Sarah, is if you could bring a book for everybody and donate it. I would have said no, because that's not what they bought. Serving does not mean that you give away the farm, but serving means that you try to make their job easier, that you show them how much you appreciate them. That's how you get referred back. And that's how they refer you on, because you're just so absolutely delightful. You know your stuff. You're so great. Does that make sense? If that makes sense to you, that it's not sales, it's service, type yes. If you have a different definition of sales, say alternative, and I'll bring you on the line, because I don't want you to feel like I need to be the only one doing the talking here. If you got another definition, then by all means, let's bring it on. All right, what have we got here? Yes, absolutely yes. Yes, yes, so good, so good. Okay, cool. Okay, absolutely serve a need. See, my people, God, love you guys. Okay, so this is the magic formula for me in having a six-figure business that I love. It's having enough things that I can scale. It's having a really clear brand that I'm the best person to deliver that thing and serve that need. And to be very, very clear, your brand is so tied to value, because what you're all about solves a real problem. And that's sometimes where we miss the mark, at least at first, is what is the problem that my client absolutely needs solving? And I know we are experts in this, because we have learned flawless consulting. We've learned so many decent consulting models where we recognize that if we're not offering good value, that we're probably offering the wrong service. And we're used to asking questions, good questions. Used to asking clients good questions to clarify what service is the most important service. And that's where we make the best entrepreneurs. OD people out surpass speakers when they're brand new to the business 10 times over, because we know how to contract. So it's what we sometimes need to do, though, is figure out how to scale ourselves so that we're not just trading time for money. So let me just reinforce that point. This is how you get out of the trap of not feeling like you love your business. This is how you get out of the trap of feeling like you're never going to make more than 5 figures. And if you only want to make 5 figures, there is nothing wrong with that. Please don't feel I'm criticizing. If you're making 5 figures, though, it's either because you're serving an audience that really doesn't have a lot of money that they can liquidate, and but even then, I would say go a different route, like sponsorship. I still think any one of us on the line can get up to 6 figures. The trick, though, I think, is scale. The trick is scale. The trick is having a really clear brand and that you are the most important category of one to offer it, and that you offer huge value because you solve a real problem that people need solved. Of all the problems out there that they're dealing with, this problem needs to be solved. That's how you generate the revenue. And when it's the area that you absolutely love it, then you love offering that scale and brand value, and you're just a flood of ideas to be able to do that. Do we have, before we move on, Caroline, do we have another poll? Am I behind on our polls? I might be just like clicking along too fast here. Caroline, we doing okay?
We're doing well. There is a wrap-up poll at the end. All the other polls have been
okay. Cool. All right. Hack number 4, get help. Hence Caroline's on the line. She is my savior. I make the joke that my husband's a business teacher. He did his BBA in, get this, entrepreneurship and marketing. Guess how much help he gave me in my business? Because he married a wife. He didn't marry a business owner. So he did not want to do that. So you need to ask for help. And one of the things I would say, we're going to do the stop, start, continue, because we love that, don't we? Facilitators, we totally get that model. What do we need to stop? What do we need to start? What do we need to continue? Keep track. If you're not already doing this, this is, another piece of homework. God, there's so much homework. I thought school was out, right? Keep track of your $10 jobs. If you're not doing that, the little things that add up that you don't need to be doing. And that is why in my business, even if it means that I'm not going to take home that last $10,000 or $20,000, I would rather spend it on people who are exceptional and take the burden off of my shoulders, and I can have the lifestyle I want, but also be able to serve clients and be free for the creativity and the energy to be able to bring to this. I mean, I hope that you can feel the energy that I'm trying to give to all of you, because I love having these conversations. I love what I do. And I will not have that kind of energy if I'm cleaning my house and I'm doing all my organization and all my own travel and all of my answering my emails and all of my marketing, and I'm keeping track of my books, and I'm questioning my tax accountant about everything he's ever said. And I'm also trying to be my own business coach and talk myself into, doing, are you tired yet? I haven't even started reading the third list yet. And so we have to know, and I don't mean that these things cost $10. That's not what I mean by $10 jobs. I mean all the little things that you do that you don't need to do, that somebody else can do it more efficiently, or somebody else could do it and free you up to do what your genius is, your true and authentic greatness. I could have designed my first website. I theoretically probably, would have been a good idea, because I figured out what I actually wanted to be when I grew up. About a year and a half after my website was designed, I had to throw it out and start again. But I don't want to do it. There's a reason why I'm not a web designer. I love web designers, but I don't want to design a website, so I didn't design my website. It is more important to invest in yourself, and part of the investing in yourself is investing in things that other people can support you to do. So unless you love it, like your thing may be keeping track of your own books because you're great at that, allows you to feel in control, allows you to see the money in and out, great, keep it, awesome. If cleaning makes you feel therapeutic, it's your mindful activity, awesome, wonderful, perfect. But unless you love it, if it detracts you from your job, I would strongly recommend spend the money. I shouldn't say, I'm never going to recommend how somebody should spend their money. What I have done is often with many of these things that I've got on the list, I've spent the money first and know I would make it back later. Or I've played a game with myself. The next client who pays me my full fee, I'm going to hire that editor. And guess who calls the very next day? Somebody who needs my work and is going to pay the full fee. And I'm going to make sure I get my full fee because I've got a book to write and I need an editor. So it also puts you in that position of respecting, remember the sales to yourself first, respecting that you deserve to get paid what you're worth, and that you have bills to pay. And therefore that's the other reason you deserve to get paid what you're worth. All right. Here's your start. Rally your raving fans. Now, who here has already sent messages or had coffee or had specifically asked people to make referrals for them, to write references for them, to write them a letter? Just type yes. If you've already tapped into your raving fans, type yes, because I'm sure you already have. I ask my raving fans for favors all the time. I had All right. Yes, but not enough. Thank you, Seymour, for your honesty. That is awesome. This is why I'm becoming your raving fan. So, and you know what? No, yes, but not consistently. I love it. Thank you for your honesty. So here's a new piece of homework. Hadn't planned on offering it, but here's my suggestion. Write 10 raving fans down on a list. And then within the next week, the next 7 days, ask them for a favor. They want to support you. That's why they are your raving fans. There's a reason why this doesn't say rally your neighbors or rally the people who know you, rally the people you meet in a grocery store. These are the people that love you, know your value. They wish that they could bring you into their organization again or to the next one that they have. I have somebody who, thank God, every 16 months to a year or a year and a half, she leaves her job. And every time she leaves her job, she comes to me in and I'm a speaker. Because guess what? Everywhere she goes, there's an engagement crisis. So she's one of the raving fans. And I take her for pedicures once a year. We have lunch once in a while. If she emails me, she is the priority of how fast I'm going to get back to her compared to other people. And I try to be pretty responsive. Rallying your raving fans is also serving them too. So it's give and take, right? Continue, tap into your network's expertise. So for example, when I was producing my virtual program, 52 Weeks of Greatness, and I was thinking to myself, what would the people who buy this program, what are they asking? I thought, who's on my avatar's bucket list? I thought, you know what? Everest climbers. I know an Everest climber. I'm going to just ask him if he'll do an interview. And then we use this system, Zoom. I had it actually free at the time. So I interviewed him, 5-minute interview, super fun. One of the modules in there is we all need a Sherpa. I thought, who would inspire somebody? I asked Alvin Law, another speaker. He's a world-renowned speaker. He's also a world-renowned jazz musician, and he was born with no arms because he was born during the thalidomide crisis. What is an accomplishment that everyone in this program could relate to? Well, Vince Presenti, he has set a world record for skiing. He's been to the Olympics. Everyone can relate to being in the Olympics. Not anybody's never won a medal. And that was a really cool interview. And what a potential inspires me the most? Well, I asked Tanya Yashin, who started Steep Tea, went on Dragon's Den, one of the best Dragon's Den stories that has existed. Some of these people, I asked them for a favor, that interview, 5-minute interview, which really took 15 minutes of their time. And I had met them very briefly. But when you're trying to serve and they know your intention is to support people, most people want to do well by other people too. And they say yes. Of all the people I asked in that virtual program, because almost every one of those modules, there's 52 modules in that program, I only had one no. I was surprised because I thought I was going to get tons of rejection. We have no idea how much our network wants to support us. And we know, and what's the harm in asking? I'd say in speaking, you get rejected more in this gig than in dating. But the flip side to it is you get more yeses from those people who are used to getting no's. All right, last hack we're going to talk about. Recognize yourself daily. Oh my gosh. 6 months into my business, I was like, what have I done? Okay, the good news is my kids are doing better. So that's awesome. But oh my gosh, I've never felt poor in my life. So I decided, well, I'm going to have to start recognizing myself every single day. So I took these green little frog cutouts that now I use them as a handout in my talks, but I buy them at the Dollar Tree. And I would force myself, as juvenile as this may sound, to write with a Sharpie marker one thing every single day that I appreciated about myself. And I bought myself a special little thing and I would put it up. And on those days when I was having a bad day, I would go and look at it. And I'm from healthcare. When it's my own handwriting, it's called documentation. So I can't deny that I'm doing good things in my business because I have written that down. And what started to happen within the first 30 days was that I began to write multiple of these cards a day. I used to think about it before I'd sleep. I used to wake up in the morning and begin to think, you know what I'm going to be able to accomplish by the end of the day and write on my card is. And it became a self-fulfilling prophecy of success. And the other amazing thing that started to happen is I started to get more work. And work with the right people too. People who were digging this sort of thing, who really related to self-acknowledgement and appreciating people. And it's amazing how the universe conspires to help you when you give it a direction. The other piece I would suggest that you can really inspire you, especially if you're feeling like, frustrated or stagnant, or learn from other people. That Gary Vaynerchuk book on Jab, 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 Right Hook, that's the person I was talking about earlier. I've already mentioned Joe's book. In the middle, The Automatic Customer. For those of you who want to have a membership-based business, that's a great book for you to explore. There's, I think, 9 different models of an membership-based business. I have a membership site. I have to tell you, it takes a lot of work for me to sell people into that program. So I'm not actively selling it. It's paid for itself. My investment, that's the number one thing. So I got a bit enamored with the idea about it. It didn't become a magic bullet. But that's because why? There's no magic bullets in business. I want to recognize and acknowledge that we all may have, me included, some gremlins that have shown up on this call, or gremlins that show up in your business from time to time. We all probably know the question, especially those of you who are coaches. The question for our gremlin is not, what is the gremlin saying, but why have you shown up to serve me tonight? Thank you so very much for showing up in that very mean form that you have chosen to show up in. But why did you choose, why did you have to be here today? What role did you have to play in me understanding something about myself or my business? That's another question to chew on. And related to that, really, in essence, is what do I need to pay attention to? What has come up? Why does my gremlin keep saying this thing to me? Because I need to pay attention to something that I'm just, it's sort of the consciousness level is raising for me about that. Last hack, bonus tip, and then we're going to hand it over to questions, is play for keeps. As I had mentioned to you earlier, this is who I play for. My children, my husband, I joke he's my first child, my adopted almost 50-year-old. He will totally tell you he is a kid. He is at the movies watching a scary movie with my daughter, and he is more excited than my daughter to be completely petrified. I will not hold him in the night when he is crying. Anyway, so he is my first child. I absolutely love him. 20 years of marriage later, and my 2 beautiful children, 15 and 13, Simone and Justin, so here's the first keep it real. Second keep is keep the vision. And I keep the vision through vision boards. You keep the vision however you want. You may have actual vision because you do visioning with your clients. Therefore, you have a vision. Your triple bottom line vision that someone had shared is a beautiful vision. Whatever your vision is, keep the vision. And I actually keep my vision posted on the wall. I have first the original vision board that started it all before I even started my business. I have my current business vision board in the middle, and to the right, I have my current overall holistic vision. And anytime I'm questioning if I'm making the right decision, I look at what's on that vision board and I evaluate it against what's there. And the last keep is keep on moving, one step at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Google wasn't built in a day, and they've got thousands of people. They can't build in a day. My goodness, right? And solopreneur businesses weren't built in a day too. I'm not sure if this number's working or if this download's working. I just want to put it up again if anyone wants that, or just send us an email at info@greatnessmagnified.com. We'll send you a copy of the Greatness Biz Hacks book if you would like it. And you may just be curious about, well, how could I produce a book in a day? Because we talk about the story of how we were able to do that actually in the book as well. And then finally, I just wanted to give you a link into my calendar. That is one of by the way, the best time-saving investments that I made. I'm with Calendly. For $100 a year, I have clients do all the scheduling into my calendar. And of course, I have Caroline to be as a backup if somebody doesn't really want to use the calendar software or who needs a special accommodation. But for the most part, my coaching clients, my prospective sales clients, whatever, they book into my calendar. And of course, I'm thrilled to spend 15 minutes with you if there's anything that you wanted to dive deeper in. But for now, though, we've got 10 minutes together, and a little bit longer if you want it. Why don't we open it up to you to unmute yourself, or if you can't unmute yourself, you can just say in the chat box, Caroline, unmute me, and let's open it up to questions. Let's jump right in. We've got 10 minutes minimum. what questions do you have? What comments? What resonated for you? How can I serve? So just go ahead and unmute you if you have any comments or questions.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing all this information. A lot of this I guess I am already familiar with, or to a certain extent.
Good.
I just haven't been able to actually, I guess, get things on. As I was saying, I am the person who has already a lot of the things planned. I have already built, my website and all this stuff. However, I just moved here 3 years ago, and I am having a full-time job. So I am finding problems finding, I would say, the first client. I work in a university. I have my internal clients, but I want to get out there to offer my escape room and doing more stuff. So I have started already doing some marketing. I printed some postcards. I went to an HRPA conference. I gave some of them away. I use them as business cards as well. And I'm starting now to connect with people on LinkedIn. But I would say pretty much, how is your first, maybe when you have been here for a longer time than me, you already know a lot of people, but how do you start getting those first clients?
Yeah. So I'm willing to bet, and some of them may even be in your organization where you're working now. You probably already have people who really dig you because you're a pretty cool lady. So I would say start there. Say, you know what, I'm so passionate about solving whatever this problem is, right? Because people will pay money to have their problem solved. In other words, it's a need to have versus a nice to have. How is your escape room a need to have? Because some people may be thinking of it as that would be nice to do. You want to help people see how it is a need to do. What is the biggest business issue or two that doing the escape room solves for people?
I have that part already. The thing is, because of my job is totally different, I am a change manager.
Yes.
My manager said already explicitly, do not offer the escape room here.
Yes.
So this is where I am not so sure. I don't know if maybe that's a good idea. I may reach out to my clients who are asking about the escape room and asking them if they know someone who might be interested, because you already told me, do not offer this. You have a different job.
Right. Yeah. But they may know, though, their sister may need something, and the thing is, know what the hook is, like why, when, and it may take some discussions to figure that out. So for example, if you end up selling the escape room experience to people who have, oh my gosh, I have 1 month to book a training session or a leadership retreat for my people, I don't know what to do. They've done everything. Maybe that's how people book you. But who are those people, right? Who are the ones? Is it the head of training who has been all of a sudden given this task? Is it the administrative assistant to the president? Is it the lowest person in the sales rung in the sales department? It may take a little bit of time to figure out who that person is who makes the buying decisions. But once you know that, then you can help by speaking their language. When they call you and they say, oh my gosh, we need this. Why are they saying they need this? Or what tips over the buying decision, the point to make the decision to buy from you.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope that helps. But, if that doesn't end up helping and you want to come, connect back with me, just jump into my calendar. We'll brainstorm some more for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah. Other folks, what did you get from what reinforced for you that, was something you already learned and you're it's double down recommitment to it, or a question that you still have? Seymour, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to say something? No? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Sorry, I lied. I think I can hear you. Try again.
Try. Okay.
Yes.
Testing. How's that?
Testing. You're on. You're on the air with Sarah. Go ahead.
I guess. Well, I have this problem with my girlfriend. No, anyway.
Oh my gosh. No, I trained in therapy. I'm not qualified anymore, but I have to dip into the recesses of my brains. Go on.
I think just to be succinct, I think one is refocus was a core message for me. And the other was a good reminder about creating streams. And I think those were two excellent perspectives that I need to do some deep dive in, because I've got content, I can do this. So it's okay. decide on who that end customer is and go for it.
Yeah. So it's like answering the sentence, you need to work with Seymour because he does whatever, or because he is the expert in. Yeah, because when you got that, then it's like, oh my, I so need that. And yeah, you could work with him here and there and there and there. And there's so many different ways, right?
Exactly.
So
thank you.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it. Jennifer, were you unmuted there for a second? Would you like to, you're on with Sarah.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, so I guess back to one of my original responses to one of your polls was you were asking where your revenue comes from. And right now mine is coming from my day fees. So like the going in, doing the big stuff. So I'm very much attracted to the different revenue streams, and I've been thinking a lot about that. But just, I guess, as a first piece of advice for someone like myself, because my business is only 8 months old, so I'm still new into it. I've had a lot of great success, which I'm really happy about. But at the same time, I see like I don't see that as being sustainable. So as a first step into diversifying the revenue stream, what would you suggest is a really good sort of, when we reflect on that pyramid, what's sort of like the next step around that? That's what I'm struggling with.
Well, that's actually what I would go back and ask the clients that you're already serving, those people that you've been serving over the last 8 months. And congratulations, you've had a super successful 8 months. It's amazing. So I would go back and say, you know, what else, if I had this available for you already, what would you be asking for?
Yeah.
Or in your evaluations, and I can share with you, I don't know if you'll be able to see it very easily. You know what, if you want it, email me and I'll send it to you. But basically the first half of it's only half a page. So it's a regular sheet of paper, but I slice it in half. Down the left-hand side, including having my branding and my Twitter handle and all that stuff, it asks 3 questions. What did you hope to get that you haven't already gotten? What was the most important thing you took from this? And how would you describe Sarah? And then can we quote you on that, yes or no? And then I list, what else do you wish what else would you like to learn more about? And the only questions I'm asking are things that they could bring me back for. Of course, recognition, but I talk about self-care and compassion fatigue reduction, and there's a number of them. So I go back to the organizer and I say, it sounds like you've got a lot of people who are struggling with compassion fatigue. Have you found that? Oh, yes, Sarah, that's a big problem. Well, would you like to have a conversation about how we can incorporate that into your next conference, or if it's more urgent, maybe there's a leadership development session that we could offer. As I was mentioning to everyone, Jennifer, is that about 75% of my business is repeat, which is really amazing considering about 30% of my revenue is from speaking. Normally, in the speaking world, it's very rare to get invited back, because once they've heard you, it's kind of like next. It's a bit of a crank the wheel and who else is roll the dice and who else is showing up. But if I can make the case that people want the next step. And the other thing that I do is I say, you know what? I know that you've already heard me speak. So how about we talk about, perhaps I could do 2 breakout sessions where we do a deeper dive, or maybe I could come and do the pre-conference workshop. And then my other keynote that I offer that is another version of this is this. So, be thinking about, and some of you will already have this, and Jennifer, you may be one of them, knowing what those other things that people can already purchase from you, even if you've not developed it yet. See, that's one of the things that sometimes we do is we first develop it and then we try to sell it. But some of the best advice I've received is it's actually the other way around. First, know that somebody's going to buy it. 52 Weeks of Greatness, I sold it first, and then I built it 1 week at a time. And we tried to stay about a month ahead of schedule. But the benefit of that is that what clients were telling me, or the people in the program were saying that they loved the most, and they were finding most difficult. I adjusted the modules. Some modules I never created, and other ones I created that I never had planned to, because of the feedback that I was getting. So is that helpful? Does that give you some?
Yeah. That's really great. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Caroline.
Sarah, we have a question in the chat from Georgie. It's a 2-part question. Do you worry about your competition, or do you do any research to see what others offer and do? second part, do you try to compete with them or just try to have a different focus or niche?
Such a great question. I think perhaps the answer to this has been very influenced by being part of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, because we are each other's competition, but we're not a competitive group. We are a very, very giving group, just like OD people are giving too, right? So, but I find we're actually more giving than the coaching community. Coaching community, I find, is much more sort of closed and keep it close to your chest. So I actually don't. I don't like research, so that's probably part of why I don't do it in my business. I have Googled to see who else speaks on recognition, so that's how I know that there are 3 other people in Canada who speak on it as their main area of expertise. I've watched their videos, and I don't feel they're competition. They're not getting booked before me. So I don't worry about it. Yes, there's other people who could do it. There's other people, frankly, I actually didn't get selected for a conference because somebody was going to talk about frog. And I just told the conference, well, you can have somebody speak on frog, but it's not their brand. So you have somebody who's misrepresenting themselves. Anyway, that person didn't speak for them either. But the point is, I don't get too caught up and worried about that stuff. Because it detracts from me being able to have that abundance mentality and put myself out there as this is such a need that even if 3 more people come out of the woodworks in Canada and they brand themselves as a recognition expert, there's 6 of us is not going to solve the problems that exist in Canadian organizations. We're going to need a lot more. So I'd almost be inclined, as long as somebody wasn't going after my clients or misrepresenting themselves or using my brand or something to that effect, where it's directly, it's like I don't want anyone stealing my husband either. As long as they're not trying to steal my clients and they're trying to steal my business model. And I mean, I've given my whole business model to all of you, so I'm pretty open book. So I don't worry about that. And I frankly, I think that that's part of why I've been able to keep growing, because I give it all away. And the ironic thing is, the more I give away, the more people want more of it. Because a lot of the stuff that I offer in my training, people could just come to my website and get for free. The stuff on my cool stuff page, there's tons and tons of recognition resources and tools, and it's even the step-by-step how-to of so much of the stuff, but people don't want to do it themselves. They don't, so that's why I don't worry about it, is there's only one me, which is, we've talked about the problem with scale, right? That's a good and a bad thing. If somebody really, really were trying to compete with me, I would have an honest conversation with them about the ethics that we all have to practice as practitioners, and which is why I always maintain my association memberships with OD, with HR, with coaching, and speaking. And because those ethical guidelines will allow me to have the conversation about not stealing my stuff. But at the same time, if it were just down to me to fix the lack of recognition and people feeling valued in Canada, I would be pretty exhausted. So, hey, more to the party. It's good. I don't know if that answered the question, though, about research, other than I don't do it. I don't do market research. I listen to my customers. That's my market research. Honestly, that's the research. And if they're ready to buy it, I'm ready to build it. Was there a follow-up question to that? Did I answer your question? Yeah. And my niche, by the way, for some of you, your niche will be industry. Like you work in insurance, or you work with people who cut lawns. Like, I don't know, like it can be super, super, super niche in an industry. I've chosen to niche subject matter area of expertise. And that's what works for me. But you may actually be coming out of, let's say, if you're coming out of the education sector, that may be where you do all of your work. And therefore your diversified revenue stream model is not about, I only work in education on, student success, let's say. Maybe you do all kinds of things in education because you know that there's a number of things that need to be solved. But one of the things we talked about earlier around not stretching yourself too thin is, what are the things that you absolutely love and that are really needed? And then you still can build that as a product, whether it be a keynote, whether it be a training session, a virtual program, whatever it is. And then that's what people can buy from you. So I'm glad, Georgie, that answered your question. Any others? We're a couple of minutes over time, but I'm okay to go for another couple more minutes if other people have reflections about what they learned, or what they got out of it, or a comment or a question. Oh, you're welcome, Doug. You're wonderful. Doug and I have known each other for a long time, so I'm absolutely thrilled, Doug, that you could be on the call. Applause. Great session. Thank you, Seymour. See, recognition feels good. Amanata, do I hand it back over to you to wrap up the session? You can just unmute yourself, or Caroline can unmute you. Or maybe she's, you're welcome, Darcy.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can, yes.
Okay, perfect. I had one other thing, Sarah. For some people, what they like to do is they like to do generalist type of work, so kind of like a jack of all trades. So how would you be able to work with that, and also thinking about a niche as well? If you're liking, all types of work energize you in terms of your generalist type of role.
Yeah, that's where thinking about an industry would allow you to have a niche, but be a generalist in terms of offer lots of different types of service products and so forth. So, and if you really don't want to do that, by all means, there are some people who have made a good revenue from being a generalist, but it is much harder to command a higher fee. When I became a professional speaker and I had a niche area and I had some IP, intellectual property behind me, I was able to command a higher fee. And then once I got paid a higher fee for speaking, I had a really hard time asking my clients for a different fee if I was, if it was a smaller group, let's say a leadership development. I just felt like my time is my time, and I actually have a day rate. So because it's at the top of my pyramid, that's my most precious resource. So if I were a generalist, it would be harder for me to say, my time is my time, you're lucky to have me. And so my rate is this higher rate, because then they would say, but I could get this generalist over here for the same amount because they talk on all these different things too. So I would say it's not that it's a bad thing and you can't make a go of it. It's just really, it's a lot harder to make your fee. And if anybody's curious about my fees, I'm not going to talk about them online, but you can Google Sarah McVanel e-speakers and you can see my fee range. And that's what I charge, whether it's leadership development or speaking or a facilitation gig or whatever. So my day consulting rate is the same fee as my keynote rate too. The only difference is it's geography. Do I have to get on an airplane or not? Do I have to get a visa or not? That's the only difference in my fee range.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So did anybody else have any questions before I close off the session?
Well, I do hope if you have anything else that comes up that you will jump into my calendar. Would love to spend 15 minutes with you. If you want that book, make sure you let Caroline know at info@greatnessmagnified.com. And thank you all for being on the line and giving up your beautiful evening for your own development and your business development. It really has been an honor to be here with my people, my OD people.
Thanks so much, Sarah.
Yes, and Sarah, thank you so much for the fantastic session. There's been a lot of, it was very interesting, engaging, and a lot of excellent takeaways. Some for myself that I've seen is like having a business vision board, but having also a salary figure behind it just to be able to attract that for yourself. And then also the point about how when you do your best work is when you do your niche. So there were a lot of excellent points that you made that really resonated. And on behalf of TODN, we sincerely thank you for doing this virtual event. And we thank everybody who's participated as well. And we hope that everyone has a fantastic summer, and we will see you in September.
You're not going to sing the song as you end there, Amanata?
You know,
See
the
where
whole
you
entire
go.
time I thought that song was called Badia and not September, so
Oh.
I'm just not going to embarrass myself.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. See you later, everybody. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.